you, Clerk Moss, and welcome everyone to the afternoon portion of the board roundtable. Thank you, Clerk Moss, for mentioning that we've taken care of items 1 through 5 before our lunch break. And so now we have item 6, so different clean water services topics. So I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Shanley.
All right, well, thank you. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and Directors. We're going to talk about draft rules of procedure. So the concept here is that we'll be separating the clean water services from the board, Washington County board meetings, and really focusing on, I think, goals of transparency and also focus on the topic and content that we're presenting. So I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth and Brad, who've been doing the heavy lifting on this, and we'll go from there and present to you we've started with what the county has in place right now, which was pretty obvious starting point. And as the county would adjust and adapt any of their rules and procedures, we would stay lockstep with them as we would move forward. So with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Rick. For the record, Elizabeth Edwards, Chief of Staff with Clean Water Services. And Rick gave a very nice overarching introduction of sort of our starting place here. Posted online, you'll see both red line and clean copies. Please consider these version 1. So this is kind of the opening salvo. We'll share with you the first draft and looking forward to the discussion and feedback. Many of the changes are fairly straightforward, changing county commissioner to board director, removing references to the county charter, striking sections that are inapplicable, like around quasi-judicial work. So you'll see that peppered throughout. There are 3 sections where I think we'll probably have the most robust conversation. Section 4 around meetings, Section 8 around community involvement, and a new section, proposed Section 14 around conduct. So just to sort of forecast where we're going. And I thought I would walk through in kind of chronological order here. And if folks have any comments or questions, Chair, I don't know if you wanted to say anything before we dig in.
I'm in the flow with you. So
Fantastic.
I love how you're approaching this. Let's go.
All right. So to begin, Section 1, we're just stating who we are, right? ORS 451 County Service District. That is the main change there. Presiding officer section remains almost entirely the same, with one Scrivener's edit. Clerk of the board remains the same. And quickly, we're on Section 4, meetings.
Can I ask a question? So the clerk of the board, does Kevin stay clerk of the board for Clean Water Services as well as the county?
When we are meeting at the county location, yes. However, when we are having a Clean Water Services hosted work session on our property, this is a process that we're working through for who becomes the clerk in that setting.
So remember, there are the rules of procedure, and then off to the side, there is an MOU, and I assume continue into the future in terms of how some of the needs of the district are met. So what you've just touched on is, in order for CWS to have its needs met, there's a current MOU that talks about Clerk Moss serving when we're in this building, and if other arrangements need to make or other revisions, then that gets updated.
And I assume that discussion has been held between Clerk Moss, his supervisors, and Clean Water Services in terms of time and accountability.
The 2 county administrator, county council, CEO, and general counsel.
I'm just looking for heads that are nodding, and they are.
Yeah, making sure that that service is compensated to the county for their resource. Right.
I was taking care of you, Kevin.
And the function will be done even if Clerk Moss is not present.
There will always be.
Just be done a different way.
Yep.
Correct. Okay.
Anything else on the clerk?
No,
section?
thank you.
Fantastic. Good questions. So on section 4 meetings.
Oh, actually,
Yeah.
because of questions that have come in on the Washington County side a couple of times, when I look in section 3 on item C, the clerk shall maintain a meeting record. I'm thinking about to help our community members per Oregon requirements, like
Mhm.
per Oregon requirements, close paren, because sometimes the state legislature changes the rules. And so the meeting record, my suggestion is giving our community members the means to understand where the requirement comes from. That's all. If I'm correct, that it's for Oregon
Right,
requirement.
of course, under public meetings law,
Yeah,
we have to do certain things like
Yep.
keep minutes or
Yep.
or
Right.
recording. Yep, and they do change periodically, as you recall, during the pandemic and all that.
well, I just thought it might be helpful, but it's only a suggestion. I don't need to make it any further than that. Section 4.
Section 4. So this is one of the largest shifts that you'll see. Presently we're meeting in integrated board meetings, and Clean Water Services is coming 4 times a month. When the county gavels in, they also gavel in as the board of directors. As part of the proposed separation and having standalone CWS regular board meetings, we are proposing to come in twice a month, and have identified the 2nd and 4th weeks as the potential cadence. We are looking at 9 a.m. on both days. What I would note is that the 4th week of the month, typically for the county, is an evening meeting. In order to not push you all even later into the night and to take advantage of having a little bit more flexibility in the morning, the proposal is to have that 4th Tuesday also at 9 a.m. It would then be consistent for members of the public to know, okay, Clean Water Services, Tuesday, 9 a.m. Let me check what week it is. So that's the idea on the table.
That makes a long day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just bringing that up for staff members as well as for the commission. And sometimes those meetings can go late at night.
That could easily be a 12-hour day or more.
Yeah. So I don't know what the option is. I
Is the idea that it would be like that 9 a.m. meeting would be typically over by 10 or 10:30?
That's correct.
But that gives us a lot of open time in the middle of that day too. I don't know.
Yeah,
Don't already
typically
have-
we don't start our 4th Tuesday meetings, work sessions until 2:00.
We've had them frequently at 1 o'clock.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one
still,
but after lunch.
it's still a very long window.
But I do appreciate the consistency for the public and the simplicity of that. I think we're just grappling with what the reality of that day would look like.
We could give it a whirl. You can always change it after 6 months, a year, or what have you.
when I'm thinking about what our experience has been about having clean water issues on our calendar. Is 2 meetings enough a month? And I'm sure you've looked at that and the cadence and all that piece.
So all the more reason why she brought us the rolling agenda, and why, as I've been going through the rolling agenda all this calendar year with the integrated meetings, have been marking all the CWS items in blue.
Part of the challenge for Clean Water Services will be just being planful. We need to, especially for procurement, chemical contracts, those kinds of things, we need to plan much further out to make sure that we're hitting the 2nd or the 4th. We can't have it any week. But we've been trying to flex that muscle to build up to that place, and we think that we can do it.
And the other thing that I think we need to state here is what this also means is that there would no longer be anything on the county consent agenda in relationship to clean water services. Everything would shift to these two meetings. I'm just,
Much cleaner, much clearer to our community.
I support that. I'm just pointing it out.
So why, I mean, the purpose why we have Board of Commission meetings on a night, one night a month, is to provide availability to those who can't come to our 10 o'clock meetings. So why couldn't your second meeting on the fourth Tuesday be at 5:30 rather than we start at 6:30, you start at 5:30, and you'd have a night meeting?
We certainly could. And then it's just a matter of the impact on board members for when you fit in your dinner, when your earlier part, the 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock work sessions complete. So, and the predictability of that for clean water services. But that is absolutely on the table as an option.
Along those lines, I would suggest we at least think about just starting our afternoon work sessions as needed at 1, like they have been, and then work this meeting in the either late afternoon or early evening for that reason.
So we start at 1.
Yep.
And then maybe break at 4.
Yep.
And
Something.
convene at 5:30 for clean water services and 6:30 for.
Or break at 4:30 and back at 5:30.
Yeah, something, but we still have our 1 hour dinner break in.
Yes.
And then we'd roll into. I'd prefer doing that rather than a 9 o'clock meeting on a day when we could be done in 30 minutes of clean water services. Then, it doesn't bother me because I'm 6 minutes away, but for Jason, he travels 45 minutes, so he's got a whole day here.
Yeah.
What does this do to the county side of this, though? Is there any concern about what's being discussed from a logistics standpoint?
You mean from staffing?
Yeah.
No concern. I will just say, we've had a lot more public meetings though. So from a staff capacity, and I'm just expressing this in general. We're working internally just within the CAO office because Clerk Moss has, all of your appointment meetings. He has had a unrealistic load. So that's something we're working on internally. But from a scheduling point, there's not an issue with that. But we do need to make sure that all of our staff have sustainable workloads.
But we'd also be asking him to go from 8 in the morning to 9 at night.
Mhm.
I'm more in favor of the afternoon.
So I haven't said anything. I just turned my head.
I just want to understand, is your recommendation at start the meeting at 5 p.m. on the fourth Tuesday rather than 9 a.m. or shifting it to 6:30, which is the cadence that exists?
Ours is 6, the Board of Commissions at 6:30
Right.
on the fourth Tuesday. So we'd have to slide clean water services ahead. And, it's kind of like the housing one. Sometimes it's a little longer than the other, but we put it in there and then we just bump back our Board of Commissioners meeting to facilitate. So we would convene at 5 or 5:30, depending on what, I guess I don't have a preference there. Clean water services when it's done. If it's before 6:30, then we take a little break and we convene at 6:30. If it's after 6:30, we push and we go immediately into
County. But what happens, sometimes we have, like, I follow what you're saying. So if we have in the afternoon, 1 or 2, we would have to finish at 5 o'clock and then immediately shift to the clean water services.
We'd probably need to be done at 4:30.
We'd have to finish the work session. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
Right, 4:30.
so 4:30 or 5. Well, I think we have commitment to finish at least 5. And then immediately shift to 5 o'clock clean water services.
5:30.
Yeah, I think we're
5:30.
gonna
So
go
the
5:30.
proposal I thought I heard was 5:30 for CWS business meeting, which also through the discussion, 1 p.m. work.
Yep.
County BCC work session.
Yep.
But close at 4:30, have the 1 hour dinner break. At 5:30, have the CWS business meeting. And then at 6:30, have the county board meeting.
Yeah, I see what you're doing. You're streamlining the agenda. Okay. I'm
I just don't want big
Or-
gaps in there because again, I gotta be sensitive to, I don't know how long it takes you and I don't know how long it takes you, but Jason's our furthest and no reason to have him come in and then set for 2 or 3 hours.
Oh, and also Kevin. He's got the
Kevin's
longest
day,
commute.
that's 12 hours or more.
Yeah.
Could I also bring to the table one reason why the Board of Commissioners meets at 6:30 is one, it's in the voter approved charter. But the reason it's in the voter approved charter is to make sure that when we take action on ordinances, that we've had public hearings both during the day and one at night. So I have an underlying question because I didn't bother to pull out my old rolling agendas, but I had a question about CWS ordinances. Do we occasionally have CWS ordinances, or is all of our legislation resolutions?
No, Clean Water Services does have ordinances.
Okay, okay. In which case, having
Mhm.
the flexibility of evening meetings, I was just going to approach this whole conversation about ordinances. So, so I'm, in terms of this proposal of, we have a 9 a.m. morning business meeting, the second Tuesday, and on the fourth Tuesday, have the work session, the CWS business meeting start at 5:30. I'm in support of that. So are we all set on that?
Yep.
My questions are on B. Got it. Okay.
And then still under section 4A, regular meetings, I want to call your attention to the county has a requirement for changes in the schedule to regular meetings to be noticed at least 20 days in advance.
Such an old relic.
So we shortened it to the state requirement of 72 hours. But that's a change. But in terms of
It's what we've been practicing all this year.
And typically we try to get them out, a week, 10 days, but in reliance on that 72 hours.
Yep.
You're okay with that?
I am.
Yep.
Is there, I am too.
Mm.
And I'm just thinking, is there guidance from the special districts as well on this?
No, this is, the 20 days is the county charter.
And I guess when I said this, I should have been more explicit. Everything that we're doing here.
Mm.
There are other special districts that hold meetings like this. So I assume that there are procedures. I don't know if you checked that or.
We didn't, but the reason why was we wanted to be as consistent with the county's rules of procedures, so it's not confusing when you move from one meeting to another. Because theoretically, there's different models you could do.
And I understand that and appreciate it. I just want to make sure that when we're looking at our special district, we're looking at, does it fit a norm as well?
Yeah.
So THPRD, TVFNR, and TVWD have their district meetings in the evenings because they're all volunteer board members with other day jobs.
I was thinking about notices and all those things too. And it's not critical, Brad. I
I can take a look at the
we're talking about a special district, not the county, and that's why I'm bringing that up.
Thank you. So moving to B under work sessions. we drafted this fairly broadly and referenced the all-day work sessions that we have held. Over the last couple years, they've been quarterly. This year, we've added a fifth one.
If ad hoc one as needed.
And so knowing that we are figuring out the cadence for next year in the board planning document that you received at the July 18th all-day work session, we outlined the 4. It's likely that we'll need a 5th in there. And so we drafted this intentionally to be flexible, but if you would prefer more specificity, that's something that we can certainly draft.
I mean, I talked to Mr. Shannon about this. I think over time, my hope would be that the work sessions start to morph into things that are happening on like more consistently, more frequently on Tuesdays, and less of this sort of like hold a big pile of stuff and wait 3 months to have a conversation. I know that's an evolution and there may be the need for both, but that's at least in my mind, 3 years from now, I would expect that we might be more in that space.
So, based on our 6 years of topics, I don't know how to achieve that within the next year and a half, frankly. The thing that I want to see changed in this section B is the first 2 sentences. I'd like to see air quotes around all day. Because they're not all day. But the other thing is, how does a person know when the work sessions start? Because this section, hang on, it then, does it say 9 a.m. under the 1 and? No, it doesn't say. It says as scheduled. So, I mean, what's the point in saying all day in one place and then as scheduled in another? So I think in order to have something that is predictable in a transparent way, I would suggest we just say as a starting point, starting at 9 a.m.
Well, and do you have to say all day, or can you just say, no, we're just holding periodic?
What's been happening is 9 a.m. until the work is complete.
Yeah.
So
So
content is completed. I don't know how long.
Yeah, they historically, since we've tried this, it's only been 2 years that now 2.5 years into this, 4 times a year where one of them is budget. We're trying to make sure we did the work between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. and also allowing for the shared experience for the board of different boards and topics. So that's just the history.
I think also what you're experiencing in this a little bit tortured language is our evolution and rebranding, what this time is, how we're talking about it. And so all day work session probably isn't the right terminology for it. And I don't know, we've talked about a CWS hosted work session, or we've talked about it, does it become a CWS roundtable? So part of this is the struggle for how we label what these things are, because they operate a little bit differently than when we have had a work session at the county, at a county facility.
work session is a pretty common terminology.
Yeah.
I mean, cities use it.
Yeah.
We're using it. So, yeah, so I'd say work session.
And that's why usually when I go and do the board announcements, when it was called a CWS Learning Day, I would say this is really a work session. It's not a training, so that there was no confusion over ORS language.
And under sub 1, that was an attempt to get at the ad hoc need to occasionally hold a work session outside of those kind of long days. Because there will still be times, CWAC appointments, right, that where we can't line them up with those, quarterly, 5 times a year, kind
I
of.
would just say the district will have work sessions. Some of them may be on Tuesdays and some of them may not be, or maybe all day on a
Well, right now they've been on Fridays.
scheduled as needed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as needed. Yes.
Yeah.
And announced with
I
72
just-
hours.
I just keep it simple.
But I think, as otherwise scheduled by the chair is a necessary point because that documents who's actually in the role of determining.
Agreed.
Well, so the question is, should we just,
I think you could
Well,
get
the-
rid of this
Second.
bullet, this numeric bulleted section and just make it a continuous paragraph, but move all of the scheduling together. The other thing I'm concerned about right now, though, is we still need to give folks the means to identify what day of the week, where do they go? To know, are they going to keep being Fridays or are they going to switch to Tuesdays? Or do they just go to the CWS web page to find out? So the way I'm approaching it is what would be open, clear, and transparent for the community that we're serving? I don't have a great answer to that question, other than putting in Tuesday 9 a.m. for now and then trying it out, see how it goes, or leaving it to Friday 9 a.m.
Or when publicly announced, where they'll be announced. We have to put in here exactly when work sessions are gonna happen.
No, but where will it be announced? It hasn't been
Yeah,
said.
well,
That's what I'm getting at.
that I think should be said, and it would be on the CWS website.
yeah, well, if you look at section 5, it does talk about notice and agenda. It describes how we notice the public.
So then just say per section 5.
Yep.
That'll work.
And I can't recall if I stated this to begin with, but the target for the changes to this regular meeting cadence would be January 1. And part of that is if we were to begin meeting on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays of the month, we wouldn't have any meetings in November because of how holidays fall. So that's why we're proposing that the transition take place at the new year.
It gives the town an opportunity to adjust to, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
it's, some effects.
Well, and then the other thing I hadn't realized is that this was suggesting we move from having these CWS focused work sessions to Tuesdays because we have very full Tuesdays with just county business. And I don't see that changing through the remainder of my term.
And so, Chair, one of the thoughts was if we were to be at the 4th Friday at 9 a.m., there would naturally be some time after that for a work session if we needed it. But by shifting,
The 4th Friday,
4th Tuesday, apologies.
which happens how many times a year?
4th Tuesdays. Talking about
Yeah, if
Yeah,
we were to do,
in 9 a.m.
I'm asking how many times in what months of a calendar year are there 5th Tuesdays?
Fourth.
She's saying 4th Tuesday.
Oh,
We're going back to the discussion
oh,
about.
that makes for a very long day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we ended up going to the evening,
I think what you're
because we
doing is
still have
right
the same
context.
clerk problem then. So,
We frankly have an us problem too. At 12 hours, we're not doing,
well, that's
Yes.
true. That's why we usually resort to caffeine and sugar. About 3 in the afternoon, or I do. I'll only speak for myself.
yeah, so then
So we'll
figuring
figure it
out the right cadence and opportunity for those ad hoc, typically those will be either smaller sessions like CWAC appointments, just in doing the kind of retrospective and looking back at past years that have been, let's say, more normal for CWS, or you're looking at executive sessions. Those are the sort of two things that I anticipate popping up with, just popping up. So on special meetings, removing charter references. Brad, on the second one, anything you want to say on that?
No, it's just a charter requirement for the county.
And then otherwise fairly straightforward edits to the rest of the meeting section.
I had a question in section D, exec sessions. And just making sure we internalize. It's a good opportunity for me to internalize in 2025 because this matches for both agencies. The attorney, so if you don't mind, I'm going to read it. The attorney-client privilege belongs to the district or to the county and not to any individual director or employee. Waiver of the privilege by disclosure is expressly forbidden. Only the board, by unanimous vote, may waive the privilege on behalf of the district to authorize the release of privileged confidential information.
How's the unanimous vote of that part work? That doesn't seem.
We ever done that? I don't think we have.
It just is a weird, I mean,
No, we haven't.
it's unusual that a majority of the board wouldn't be able to take an action of any kind.
Well, this is a different circumstance than normal legislation.
Understood.
That's by the seriousness of unanimous vote.
This is the way the county
Yeah.
This is
stuff
county
is written now.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah, and item 2, all information conveyed in an executive session will be considered confidential. No person shall disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about these topics during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. I think it's just really the volume of executive sessions for the two agencies in totality has increased compared to 2019. And certainly in a year like 2022 or 2020 during COVID change too. Yeah. So thank you. It was just a really good reminder. Now the infamous notice and agenda section.
Yeah, and what we did here is just removed the section that it's got to be posted in the principal administrative office of the county and the courthouse, which I'm not even sure if that happens anymore, but and gets us to a situation where it's primarily online is where you're going to find the document.
Does this section talk about where they can find it online or just meaning what the website domain is? So if they search meetings.
It does not. We can add that. That's a good.
Then I'd like to take a moment to internalize what is section E. The Clean Water Services CEO shall, wait a minute, no. Items on the agenda that are considered routine by the Clean Water Services Chief Executive Officer shall be marked with the consent agenda to be acted on according to the written recommendation by a single motion and vote on a place specified on the agenda. However, any board member desiring may have that item removed from the consent agenda and there's an and there, folks, acted on separately at the time in the regular agenda specified by the presiding officer.
That's what we do.
No, we've actually just totally, we have done it. We've also had members ask to remove a topic in entirety.
And not act on it.
And not act on it. And that's why I thought, we really need to internalize that there's an and there. So, and so it was just a good time to review them, with new glasses of just clean water services. So I found that there was real benefit to this. So not just for us as the board of directors of clean water services, but with my other hat on.
Brad, what you said went over my head around section 5, particularly A. It's more specifically the part you crossed out at the location of the meeting at the principal administrative office of the county. You crossed that out, but my understanding is these meetings are happening together, so it should stay. That information is accurate, correct? So the meeting locations will be.
Well, for some meetings, but not all meetings.
But so how do we articulate that for?
I think this is just where these notices are posted.
Right, it's just
Yeah.
posting notices.
So it's like a bullet board out here.
Yeah.
Right, that's,
So what we're saying is that as we talked about earlier, is the website is where people will be able to find the meeting notices.
right.
Right now, once a week, a magical person posts our meeting notices on the bulletin board in the back and over by the
Right.
cappuccino, Sips and Sammy's. So, but we're talking about a separate district.
Right.
So that's where we talked about previously, making sure the location, the website is clear.
So I don't
Yeah.
mean to be speaking for you, and if I am, I apologize, but there may be a point here that is, what about people who don't have access to the web or that type of information? Should we have a spot at Central where things are posted in paper format? I'm just raising that as.
And then the and part of that question is facilitating this cultural shift happening. People are used to certain postage here. So how do we facilitate that shift?
I mean, I gotta be honest. I mean, this language is antiquated from my first days as a lawyer, where there was no web and we just posted on a bulletin board. That's how you provided notice. And you would have to, back in those days, I think you would have to put it in the local newspaper.
As I say,
too.
there's a newspaper
Yeah.
requirement.
And
Right.
And I understand that, but I'm saying that are we missing the question that I'm raising, are we missing any parts of our population by not have a physical posting? I'm just
People
asking a
have
question.
to, I think it's time for us to recognize that even for filing your taxes, for the standard process these days is so much is done over the internet. People have access to the libraries. That's the solution we come to every single time. That's why there are public libraries with computers, and I think we just need to fully embrace that and not return to the day where we're posting paper copies in an office building. The number of people who look at our bulletin boards for our meeting notices is like 0. Well, you post them. You have vested interest. Kevin, board clerk.
Maybe you should have put a little box at the bottom that says, if you're reading this, check here.
Yeah,
Or send Clerk Moss a thank you card.
Along with your guitar lessons.
I will be honest,
And
Mr.
free kitty.
Treese, most of the even homeless individuals I've interacted with as mayor, which was a lot of people, virtually every single one of them had access to the internet, had my phone number, were calling me regularly on cell phones. Like I do think we're at a point where it's become kind of ubiquitous.
And I will agree. I'm just raising the issue
I think
because
it's
I think it's a reasonable
good
thing to
question.
say, to make a decision about. So thank you. And it'll be on the web.
So, section 6.
Yeah, this is a county charter requirement. I don't think the district can require compulsory attendance.
But
By,
I think it's useful to state that all members are expected to attend on a regular basis,
we can certainly say that.
are excused by the providing officer for specific purposes such as vacation, illness, family leave per ORS, and for district needs.
So will you be keeping attendance records? We keep attendance records here.
We have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's
I'm
part of
asking if
that.
the same thing is going to happen. Yeah, I think it should. It's not like this commission doesn't adhere, but
As Brad referenced, that gets captured in our minutes. So
thinking about North Plains, for example.
But I would suggest that for these being our rules of procedure, that we also document so that our community also knows what the expectations are along the lines of, I'm asking for better language. All members are expected to attend unless excused by the presiding officer for specific reasons, such as vacation, illness, family leave per ORS, and for district needs.
And you're reading that from where?
I just wrote it down when I was reading this.
Okay, no, I just.
This
thought
is
you-
what we've been practicing.
Yes, no, I like what you did there. It's just, I didn't, could you do that? off the
He
top
didn't
of your
realize
You
that.
thought you were
I read
referencing
it.
something else.
Oh,
head? Yeah. I
That
did.
was a compliment.
Yeah.
oh, no, I just read it off my paper
Um,
that I chicken scratched out. You know me, my bad handwriting.
We can certainly add that in subsection 6. It makes sense.
Yeah, I like that.
The county doesn't have it,
yeah, I was gonna say, the county doesn't have.
but
I think it's got room for improvement and we can look at
sure.
modifying county rules of procedure in the future.
Okay.
What, read it again, what does it say? What's the addition? Do you understand it, Brad?
I got my chicken scratch over.
Okay.
Have
If
Catherine.
you-
I'll read it again.
Kathy, can you, or Catherine, can you send to me directly so I can add that? That would be helpful.
Kathy will do that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Karen, Kathleen, huh? She'll do it.
That'll teach
Mr.
Catherine.
Harrington, thank you so much for your.
I'll do it after the meeting.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We'll add that in.
Did you get your clarity though?
No, I didn't,
I'll read it. I'm happy to read it again. And all I'm doing is describing what we've put into practice. All members are expected to attend unless excused by the presiding officer for specific purposes, such as vacation, illness, family leave per ORS, meaning family leave is defined by 4FMLA or whatever the right acronym is, and for district needs.
Should we include in their emergency situations?
I think that's covered under district needs.
No. I'm thinking,
Vacation, illness, family leave, and for district needs. I don't know. Could
I'm
you give
thinking
me
about,
an
yeah,
example
well,
of
my
what
mom,
you
my
mean?
mom died.
Yeah, that's family leave.
Yeah,
When your mom went into the hospital, family leave. It doesn't have to be formal,
About including but not limited to.
such as, that's why I use the word such, phrase such as, folks.
I don't know, I think we need to process this a bit more, maybe send it, I'm having a little bit of I don't seek excuse from the presiding officer. I just email to the board and let them know that, there's a health issue that come up or this come up, so I'm not sure. That's just a new terminology for me that has not been the practice here.
and the presiding officer is required to note attendance and who's excused. So we've been putting this into practice for all the years, and it was put into practice by prior board members.
So maybe say that then, this will be noted, all attendance noted or something like that. We're individually elected. I see a permission seeking in there. I don't know what I'm picking up here, but I see a permission seeking here, but maybe send the draft and then I can react to it. When I see it, but I'm comfortable what you provided here, and I'm comfortable with the idea that I picked it up when I saw this rules and procedure for clean water services, to model it after the current mechanisms and practices that exist within the county per our charter. And then the question I have for you, Brad, is I saw that the first except otherwise provided in the charter, you crossed that out. So I'm wondering if you could explain, and I forgot to find my notes, section 35, that might have something to do with it, but if you could articulate for the record and for.
Yes, I can. So in the county's charter, when the county declares an emergency, there are scenarios where you can have actually less than a quorum making decisions. Clean Water Services can't declare an emergency, so that's why that was removed, and it's not relevant.
So you don't have to worry about the sheriff compelling you to attend. So Clean Water Services doesn't have a voter-approved charter. So that's why there are a couple of things that I think need to be included in the rules of procedure. But I also want to come back to, I believe what has been proposed, though maybe not or inferred, but not necessarily said, is today's version 1.
Yeah,
correct. So we're discussing it. The natural course of our work is that a new version is provided, and then we check in on that, and then we would take action subsequent to that.
Absolutely.
And to your comment about asking for permission, the presiding officer can't tell you no if you qualify under those provisions that we put in there as to why your absence would be. If you said, I stayed out late last night and I want to sleep in this morning, well, okay, that doesn't fit. So then,
Or I'd rather go to the beach.
The presiding officer can say your attendance is required per the charter because it doesn't fit the criteria. But other than that, it's not a permission thing. You just got to fit the criteria.
You may be absent, you're just not excused.
But it says approved by the presiding officer, language matters. So it says approved by the presiding officer, so we need to be a bit more specific. I heard you say, please read it.
Unless excused, which our practice is before our meetings, if someone isn't there, and the practice has been, if we know a board member isn't at either a work session or a business meeting for all these reasons, then the presiding officer, in this case me, uses the word excused. There have been rare occasions where no one has known and it's been noted as absent.
Because that drops into a different criteria anyway, Nafisa, because I'm not going to name names, but there are certain mayors in our region that didn't show up for a certain period of time of unexcused. And so that put them into a different category of discipline and action that the council had to take. So anyway, that's why we're differentiating between excused and unexcused.
I stand by what I said, Commissioner. I agree.
Okay.
The presiding officer, section 2, there were no amendments recommended other than or with switch. So I'm happy to reflect back, think on it, see what the words I'm reacting to it once I see it visually. Version 2. But I am comfortable modeling after, but not opening further language that could be open to interpretation for future board.
And one of the things I can do for your board, if you're to look at what other jurisdictions do. too. If that's something you would want me to do.
That would probably be helpful to know.
Ready to move to the next section, wherein we made no changes to the,
Where we are.
we are at, it was
Just gonna ask
section
that.
7. Yeah,
The green-
motions, resolutions and orders, the green 7, new 7.
7.
Cross out 8.
Yeah.
Motions and resolutions and orders.
Yeah, sure.
Which is that's probably
And then new section 8 is communications from the public. So this is a space where we are proposing a change, wherein we would have what the board is accustomed to with at the beginning, having 2 minutes per person for a maximum of 10 minutes, but proposing to shorten the time on the end, especially knowing for that evening meeting that we're backing up against your regular time for your county meeting. And so allowing folks up to 5 minutes per person before a maximum of 15. Now that's a decision, but if you have 10 minutes on the front end, 30 minutes on the back end, then we're left with about 20 minutes before of actual work time before we start pushing your county work later. So that was the consideration there.
Do we have to have the 5 minutes at all? I think this was a question that I raised, Jason, when we were
Yeah, I mean, there's,
talking about Monday.
I
but-
know there's no requirement statewide because most cities don't have more than one public comment period that's just sort of open general topic. I know the county, I think, has it in charter, right?
So other special districts again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it might be interesting to look at what they do.
yeah, there's an expectation of an opportunity to speak at a public meeting, but this is a county specific practice. And I'll look at other jurisdictions.
So are you suggesting, Pam, that we eliminate the first one?
The second one, the second 5 minutes apiece.
That we eliminate the second opportunity.
Yes.
So they get
I'm
one
raising it for
shot at the
discussion.
beginning of the meeting, they get one shot at public comment.
So you'll notice that between A and B, there's differences. So in subsection A, which is at the beginning of the meeting, it says no comments are allowed on items on the agenda scheduled for a public hearing. But in the second, they can speak on anything they want. So there is a restriction on the first.
Maybe we remove the restrictions on the first. But if you
The
eliminate
reason
the
it's there
The point
is
of the
because
first
you
one, though,
can't-
is to get them to testify during the public hearing.
Yes, you have to include testimony in a public hearing in the official legal record. It has to do with legal appeals.
Right.
So you have to say something.
Your other option would be to eliminate the one at the beginning. I think the practice from the county, and I'm just speaking from my think past experience, was people like to come to a meeting, say what their piece, and then leave because at a county meeting, they may be there for an hour and a half before they have the time to testify. I don't think that would necessarily happen at a Clean Water Services regular meeting.
At Metro, we didn't have the second public comment period, but we did have the no comments are allowed on items scheduled for a public hearing.
And that could be written better to say comments on items on the schedule for public hearing should be made during the hearing.
Yeah,
That's really the point
So it's
there.
not negative.
we could do
Yeah,
that.
it doesn't need to be a negative.
Yeah.
But I would also say 2 minutes for a maximum of 10. Do we want to stick with that?
I'd make it a little longer if we're gonna take the second one away. I would say 2 minutes for a max of 15 minutes, but I know that doesn't.
Well, let's do it for 16
Yeah, there you go.
and give it a whirl and see how it goes.
So I'm going to make another suggestion here. If we have people that want to speak longer, should we consider the other meeting having a 5 minute time frame?
No, I think they should consider verbalizing for 5 minutes and providing written testimony.
Verbalizing
You mean
for
for
2
2
minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that
I
from our
never thought that.
experience in the last, while and my previous experience, if someone cannot convey their points clearly, at least at a high level in 2 minutes, then when it gets less than 2 minutes, it's a problem.
I agree.
But I think 2 minutes or maybe we go to 3. I don't know, but
I was just,
You on the 3.
maybe it's 3 for a max of 15. I don't know. I don't want 2 sections and I don't want
5 minutes,
almost no one is using the 5-minute time for a good purpose.
unless we're being read executive orders.
Yes. Which we've already read.
Yeah,
Well,
what are
I guess-
jurisdictions?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
What are other because I feel like 2 minutes is short. That's just been my that's just my interpretation to this practice or this idea of 2-minute, 10-minute total.
How about this?
20.
For the sake of, we've been at this for a while. Could you do some research for us and come back?
We can do that.
Because I did my research before this, looked at local jurisdictions. So, but the board seems to want further information, so have to. There's our emergency boarding.
Is that all of our phones?
What's happening?
It's my phone.
Oh,
They don't mess with
don't
this
care about
anymore.
This is the Multnomah County Emergency
yeah.
Management Ordinance Training, so it won't be impacting everyone. Just
It didn't impact me.
it did not affect
It only affected 1 of 3 phones. That are,
I
who
I
are
guess
on-
people in the lower were safe. Emergency.
Oh, and that's because I signed up for the emergency alert.
Oh,
If you have to opt in.
Yep.
So at lunchtime, I made sure to turn my ringers on for all 3 phones so I could see.
I'm going to see if I can speed us up a little bit here. Public hearings, we removed the section on quasi judicial or administrative hearings.
Wait,
Yes.
can I back up to item 1, ordinances?
Mhm.
So CPOs doesn't pertain to to Clean Water Services, CWAC does. But my question really here on ordinances is, could we please adopt in our rules of procedure that ordinances are automatically read by title only as a standard practice versus needing to have a motion and a majority vote just to read the ordinance
I
by
would
title only?
love to do that for you, but it's a requirement of statute.
I was gonna say, I thought
At
that's an
Metro?
RS thing.
They have it in their voter approved charter, so it does it take a vote of the people in a home rule charter then?
Right.
Okay,
So it's also a charter requirement here
at the county, I
at,
know.
yes. So here,
That's why I'm asking.
yeah, it's a multi-step process. So you look to RS chapter 198 on special districts on how you adopt ordinances, and it says if your governing body is a county, you are a 451 district, which Clean Water
So it
Services
was
is.
written for us.
You have to follow the county's process.
Well, then you need to say so.
I can say that. It's a quirk of the statute.
You're gonna have new directors in the year 2027.
Yeah.
I've been saying that all year long.
We will make sure and make note of that.
but could I ask you, Brad, Robert's rule procedure, couldn't that the dais presiding officer could change that and say, let's just read or
Nope.
wouldn't it be?
It's a requirement of the charter and state.
To
law.
vote on it, right?
Yeah.
Robert's Rules of Order is just procedural guidelines, right?
But the presiding, okay.
It's a Oregon thing.
All right.
And we're just happy that we can abbreviate it and do it by title only because
Correct.
they didn't used to.
Correct.
Well, would it be helpful then for future boards to say, in order for an ordinance to be read by title only, a motion and subsequent vote by a majority of the board is needed to read an ordinance by title only. Otherwise, the procedure is to read the ordinance in full. I think that would help future board members.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Helps us follow the law.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what we do right now, right there.
No, we violate the law.
No, we don't. Follow the law. The problem is I get tired of being asked the question.
There's a joke.
Optional.
No, it's not.
I'm thinking, doesn't matter.
We just go to appointment board.
Yeah,
Oh, wait, on number 3, how do you define groups? We've had this problem a few times as the county.
It is a challenge that I did not change it, and the purpose was because I want to be consistent with the county, but I know that's an issue. If you want us to get ahead of the county on that, we can.
We're not doing 5 minutes, so it doesn't matter.
Well, but if we have that option open, we're gonna have somebody at some point in time say, I represent this group, and as long
But
as
we just
So
voted.
we don't have recognized community participation organizations for clean water services, which is why I brought this up.
Yeah.
so we can
The
take,
only
what you're
group
saying
we
is
should
take
do
that
that.
I think it should be eliminated altogether. It doesn't work mostly in practice anyway.
doesn't, you're,
I just don't think it's helpful.
And if we have CWAC giving us a recommendation on something, we don't usually apply a clock.
It'd be an agenda item.
Yeah, and a dialogue, presumably a real dialogue.
okay.
we,
Now on to rules governing communications with the board. That's the big news. No, that's not even the big.
nope, that's largely the same. Um,
Mhm.
I was gonna jump to,
Oh, the district's website is called out. It just, we don't document the domain name. Got it. Okay. So what section did you want to go to?
new section 9, appointments to boards, committees, and other groups. Really not large changes here, mostly conforming with Clean Water Services, Board of Directors, and District rather than Washington County.
There is one change, and that is if the bylaws
Oh, that's
provide something in particular, then you go with the bylaws, whatever the bylaws say.
And the CWAC bylaws say there's a district appointment. So there are 5 lay people done by district, appointed by district. They don't have to reside in the district.
And I think this is the practice at the county too, but it's not very clear.
Well, it only explicitly applies for the planning commission.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. There was one other, I thought.
I think there are.
Like RMDAC, but
Well, I think it's helpful to just list out what the known ones are, right? For clean water services.
CWAC
CWAC.
audit.
Yeah, CWAC and audit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Do that.
Make it easy. We,
But also the insurance, see what?
Rick is not done by us.
I thought we were gonna shift that and have the board appoint who serves on that. So that there's a bit more.
Well, so.
No, there was legislation, a resolute, you explain the rest.
Yeah, so the resolution order says that the CEO doesn't appoint, they have to, that the CEO has to make recommendations, nominations to the board, and the board will select.
So shouldn't they be listed as my point here?
It's different enough to perhaps not, but I wouldn't recommend it at this point, I guess is what I'm saying. But we can come back. I'll look at it further, but I wouldn't recommend it.
I agree with you.
I agree too, though I will add that the use of the term board in section 9 and the quick board
Mm.
use the same term board, which I understand why, and they're also very different contexts, and I get why there may be some confusion there.
Yeah, well, so I'm gonna detour for just half a second because we need some help from the board on this issue. Your CEO is going to recommend 2 people to be on the quick board to replace Jack and Diane, and we're struggling with figuring out how to put it on the board agenda, and we contemplated boards and commissions.
It's a struggle.
Well, because there was a thought that some folks were suggesting that it's a consent item, and I was like, it's not a
No,
consent.
no.
So it's like, how do we want to
Look
bring
at the definition on consent
Yeah.
agenda.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't want.
All right. I'm glad to hear that because that's where I was at too. But we'll bring it to you as a regular agenda item.
And I think just because of the sensitivity of quick right now, obviously we want to be upfront and transparent about what we're doing, but I think we have to, there's so many pieces that are still in the works, whether it's
Requires explanation to the community.
yeah, location and all that. We could go back to Commissioner Fai's point and see if it fits in the future. That would be my view.
Yeah, I would prefer an explanation to use Jason's word about why quick doesn't fit in this boards and committees and other groups. I hear you. You're thinking. I see you have your thinking
Yes,
cap on, but
it's different from your typical advisory commission that you all are. It's a separate legal entity, and you're placing members on that separate legal entity. That's why it's different. But
in the eyes of the community, the board, what we appoint, who we appoint, the actions we're taking, boards and committees, it's the same. So I think we need to have a definition that aligns with I hear where you're going with the resolution and saying that, but I think we need to have a bit more discussion and have an explanation on this. Because in my eyes, I see it the same.
I'd take the word boards out of section 9 altogether. You don't have a board right now.
Right.
That does not, that you're referencing. The county does, but
You
I
have
don't,
committee.
you have an audit committee.
Yeah.
And you have an advisory
Commission.
commission. You don't, or committee, you do not have a board, and I don't know that you would have one anytime
Good
soon.
point.
So
That's
I just,
an issue.
I almost feel like we're creating confusion that doesn't need to be there.
right,
And I appreciate that the majority of the board clearly understands that Quick is a separate legal entity.
Which is the distinction here.
yes. Right. Back on track.
Yeah, so we struck the section on board vacancies. And we struck the section on county service districts, because we are one. So then that gets us, to new section 10, order at meetings. Removing reference to the sheriff, because that's not applicable. And then largely making conforming edits.
Yes.
Removing references to the Department of Assessment and Taxation. And just aligning it with county service district other than the county.
So yeah.
What about E under, I may be way ahead here.
Mm.
Am I way ahead if I'm looking at ordinances?
Well, that's the section we're on.
Okay,
Yeah, perfect.
Wow.
Yeah.
well, it talks about a declared emergency. I mean, didn't we talk earlier that, can we enact a special meeting?
Well, you can always enact in a special meeting. That's not prohibited, but you're right that, that
We can't
Clean Water
declare.
Services isn't gonna have declared.
What happens if we have an earthquake? We better be able to declare an emergency because our treatment plants, our pipelines may have an impact.
Well,
So there are natural disasters.
yeah.
We don't have public health emergencies.
There is some guidance from the special districts on this, so I can talk with our emergency
Great.
manager and come back.
Terrific.
I think that'd be good for all of us to better understand. Because I'll admit I'm confused on whether we can and can't in this role, whether we should be able to, whether we need to.
And would we follow under another umbrella?
Right, what is the authority to do so and what would be I mean, a lot of
There's an
questions.
earthquake that hits our facilities. It's gonna be.
Well, I was going back to your comment about public health. I think we should be able to declare public health as well. What if we have one of our pump stations blows up there?
Yeah.
Work as, work,
The county
This
is
is
the
just
public health authority.
Yeah.
I've learned that at county college.
but
We learned that in the pandemic.
So they would declare the emergency?
Yes. If it were a public health.
You don't remember?
There you go. No, I skipped that class.
But what happens if something totally hypothetical and ridiculous happens? What if one of our, what if there's a bomb that takes out one of the pressurized pipes? What if there is a ridiculous, massive bomb event that affects one of either Durham or Rock Creek? Okay, has nothing to do with the county, has everything to do with our Clean Water Services response. That's the research that I'm hoping that Brad and Elizabeth will be able to do with us. So for us,
Yeah.
whether we need it for the first adoption of rules of procedure is I'm not so concerned about, but I am concerned that to make sure that over the course of the next few months that we've got better information to know where does it apply and not.
It's a really good question. It's one I've been pondering as well, because there's clearly authority to do for your CO to do an emergency related to purchasing of goods, et cetera, just through the purchasing laws. But we don't have an ordinance that addresses at all what happens in an emergency scenario and whether we can declare an emergency. We just have this little niche currently within the organization. Probably, and
This
Elizabeth
is something,
working on
yeah,
piece.
this
Yeah.
is something our emergency manager is looking at, and Mhm. and it's something that,
AWC has had it with not the algal blooms. What was that red algae? Remember? My,
Cryptosporidium?
that's different,
yes.
but another, yeah.
No, not Salem. It happened with, near the 12. But I
And-
think it
and I will
was
say-
wildlife.
On the drinking water side, they tend to be a little bit further ahead of us because of requirements, federal requirements around preparedness on the drinking water side. So
Oh,
we're drafting a little bit off
So-
of that in order to level up our own preparedness
we've gotten
on the wastewater side.
great.
Yeah.
Well, more
Yeah.
to learn. Anything else on that section? Okay, where are we next?
Okay, removing reference to the county auditor. On to new section 12, publication of rules.
What do you mean the county auditor? Could you,
So under, again, using the
For our
county's,
charter,
yeah,
Yeah, you're
county auditors for the county, not for special district.
the elected county auditor.
yeah, I understand that. And I'm wondering why.
So section 18.
So,
is-
oh, I
does
see your-
not exist.
Got it. We don't have,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that,
So striking that section.
And then the publication of rules, this is very specific to the county, and so we removed a fair amount of language, including language about posting, et cetera. If the board wants to go that way, we can certainly do that, but I'm not hearing that right now.
I think what you've proposed is great.
New section 13, participation assistance. That's just sort of a Scrivener's update from county to district. And then we get to new section 14. And this is here as sort of a placeholder for board consideration. The county rules of procedure don't currently have rules of conduct. I believe Brad looked at the Beaverton School District for a model, and then we distilled this down into 3 points. And more so, we don't think that this is the absolute perfect language, but is this something that the board wants to entertain, understanding that there may also be a discussion on the county side and we want to stay in alignment there?
I thought it was a great start. I really appreciated what you have here.
Comment that in 14B, that I know this isn't intentional, but and there may be, I get probably why it says senior leadership staff, but the way this is written, it would mean it would be okay to not treat other staff with public and the public with dignity and courtesy, which I don't think that's the intent, but I know they're not usually at the meeting, so
And that's really why we narrowed it down, was the people that the board would typically come into contact.
but at our budget hearings, that's not true. Like it's not always true, and so I like
Say staff.
these things.
We could strike
Your
senior
point,
and
with
leadership.
difference.
Yeah, there should
We
be.
remove staff.
Yeah.
Right.
The other
Well,
question I
not
have-
just senior, but leadership.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Senior staff.
Yeah,
Or,
just
yeah,
staff
just
at all.
Staff.
It's all
Yeah.
staff.
So when I read this, though, a part of my, I kind of clicked around, it says, and the public with dignity and courtesy and will provide an opportunity for all parties to be heard with due respect to their opinions. So we don't allow all public parties to
Yeah,
be
that's
heard.
Yeah.
That's
So I'm
not workable the way it's written.
Yeah, that one,
I don't think it's what they intended. to
no, I'm
No,
sure it is not.
wasn't.
But I just want to point
That
out
would
that,
circumvent our time limit, wouldn't it?
yeah, exactly.
We'll need 2 hours.
We'll work on that one.
Doesn't mean we don't treat them with respect.
Other comments on this section?
In the new section.
This is the new section.
And, so I'm just gonna add that bullet point. What happens then if you don't do that? Where's the accountability?
Consequences.
Yeah, I didn't find that in the Beaverton School District. It's really, the big concept is always that the board regulates the board type of thing. That's traditionally how it's addressed.
we're being recorded.
Yeah, so that's what we're looking for assurance on.
Yeah, well, I have the no's, so we can just post the no's so we are covered.
I think what the board is asking for is that we get confirmation that the AV recording is happening.
Maida just said that she can hear us online.
Oh,
That's encouraging.
Maida's been a hero.
So we are recording.
The broadcasting.
Yeah.
The question.
Yeah,
Thanks, Maida.
memo,
Yeah.
memo
So it's the
itself.
broadcasting live versus recording live that may be off. So, okay, so it's still recording live, so that's good.
So in response to your question, Director Fly, I'm not familiar with what Mr. Carr may have done with the board in the past. We can certainly meet with our county council colleagues and see if there was any work done in the past that we can work on. That's all I can tell you.
Good enough answer for me.
That brings us to the end of our version 1 rules of procedure discussion. As far as next steps, Brad and I are going to go back, compare notes, work on a version 2. We will schedule time to come back before you, or if we don't find time before then, October 10th is also available during our board work session day. So that will be our backstop.
No later.
No later than that.
We spent some time going over the rolling agenda.
So as part of the process of separating and having specific CWS only records, we have begun putting together CWS exclusive rolling agendas. So this was our discussion draft, and there are several items that are listed as tentative. They're likely to move. And you won't see them reflected on the county's holistic agenda at this point in time. Are there specific items that you would like me to lift up, Chair, or just to walk through?
So what I've done for my own records on this is to remind myself that for August, September, October, November, and December, that we still have integrated meetings through the end of the year. So then so I didn't have any notes to myself until September 23rd to correct that for attending WEFTEC, just Director Snyder and Willie. Then noting in October that just making sure in case this is used as a tool by CWS staff at large, that the Board of County Commissioners has a roundtable day on October 2nd. So it was just, I was trying to make sure I got the nomenclature that, for example, on August, I'm going back to my front page.
Yeah.
It's really a BCC roundtable versus on October 10th, it's a CWS full day work session. Yeah. So it's those labels that in seeing this as a first example, I thought, oh, I should mention that. And I don't care if it's under other meetings, for example, but it also may be helpful to know at this juncture, since we went over it this morning under other meetings, that the county, state of the county is on October 9th, because that's going to be a long night before we have the next day. which it doesn't affect anything other than I know I'll be drinking a Diet Coke in the morning. But somewhere I have lost, oh no, there it is. I wanted to pose here. October 7th is the West Basin Master Plan. And I wanted to ask the board a question. It's an integrated meeting, so this will be done at the board business meeting. But I thought this would be the appropriate time to ask the question. The East Basin Master Plan was our first one. The West Basin Master Plan, in terms of the documentation, takes learnings from that forward, and West Basin is geographically larger than East Basin. It's a great set of documentation. And I went back and looked at the presentation for the East Basin Master Plan that was at the business meeting. I'd like to suggest that there be a few more slides in that presentation because what I learned from the East Basin Master Plan, but more one of the learnings from the East Basin Master Plan is there were big investments there, but the presentation didn't summarize the investments. But I knew in the subsequent budget years that it comprehended the East Basin Master Plan projects. So before doing the West Basin Master Plan adoption this budget year, I went through the CIP with a fine-tooth comb. And I'll be repeating what I've said in our budget meetings, that the agency and all the staff do a marvelous job capital planning and program planning. And so ultimately it comes to the question, sorry, I'm telling such a long story. There's a big level of investments that we need to make. Our CFO proposed a capital bond to help us with that finance plan. The West Basin Master Plan has even bigger dollars, at least $1.6 billion, going back to the executive summary of the May document. And it dawned on me that our mayors and city councils, but for their attending Clean Water Services and having the opportunity to learn more about these plans, they don't have much of an opportunity to learn how expensive it is to clean our dirty water. It's a lot more expensive than on the drinking water side. So then it dawned on me, with all we've been through this year and the very intentional plan to restore public trust, is having it on the integrated business meeting the right approach, or should we call an independent CWS board business meeting?
Either way, you need to have it take an adequate amount of, be given an adequate amount of time.
Right. And so for the sake of convenience, October 7th works great. And I'm comfortable with doing it in an integrated meeting, but I'm just one of 5. And so that's where I thought now would be the good time to bring that question before you and for us to provide input for the staff. That's all. We don't have to decide today. If you want to ponder it, and we can come back to it in leadership communication, for example, next Tuesday, great. But
do you ever do council presentations on these types of issues as an alternate?
West Basin Master Plan, I'm going to pick on you for a second. It's not an issue.
Okay.
It's a big program.
Okay. Did you do council presentations on East Basin Master Plan?
To my knowledge, no.
Would you consider, and I'm thinking about, I agree with you 100%, but I'm thinking about meeting people where they are.
Mhm.
That's why I'm asking about going to the cities instead of expecting that they take it from us.
bring our partners along.
Yeah.
There's
I mean,
been a
I'd be willing
request
to-
for us to meet with council members.
I didn't hear
Regard,
you there.
there's been requests through conversations that it'd be great if clean water got in front of some other city councils. So this would be a key item we could go to talk to them about.
So just for the sake of understanding, I want to remind us all, I think it's a great idea, but East Basin has a different set of cities than
Yes.
West Basin. So it's a slightly bigger set and probably board members should
Be in
join.
attendance. I absolutely, I was going to suggest that be part of it, that board members come along. And I was referring to East Basin just to see if there was any type of, what the communication level had
I
been
don't think
before.
so. I think we've done a really good job on the West Basin, engaging city staff and co-implementer staff in the planning. And we've given them the CIP, but we haven't brought that next level.
And when we get feedback on our rates and those types of things, it frequently comes from our elected partners as well.
Yeah.
So
So that would be a new opportunity.
Might want to revisit going back with the East Basin
Yeah,
city.
I know.
too.
Well, that caused, so I was in a meeting, Vice Chair Treese and I are working on a couple of different leadership projects per the board direction with Ms. Edwards. And so I asked that very same question. And East Basin was our first one. And so of course, West Basin is, the documentation is even clearer, taking those learnings. I'm wondering if it may be useful to do a updated edition of the East Basin Master Plan as of 2026 or beyond. Just to basically get them on similar coverage footings. Because these documents, just these executive summaries, are going to be gold to your new board members and for continued evolution membership of mayors and city councils. So
Yeah.
food for thought.
We've done that. There was quite a period of time between this master plan and the last one. So at the staff level,
2021,
we did an update to the plan. I think the question would be, do we then bring that East Basin update back to the board for adoption as well? Or is it
It isn't so
something to
much
think,
the plan as the executive summary.
the summary and probably the dollars, Yeah. which we do anyway. We have to get the CIP in place. So
A great overview document.
Yeah.
So, so I think that's a really good idea. I think you're hearing board support and willingness to join in those meetings. But for closure, do we want to just stay with the October 7th meeting,
Yes.
the integrated meeting?
Yep.
Okay, great.
You could also announce at that point, well, it's not on the consent, is it?
No, it's on the action.
Well,
No,
I'm
it's gotta be action.
sorry, I just having a moment
Just
here.
making sure.
But we could also talk about what a communication plan would be.
We can
on
do
the
that.
October
And there will be a meeting with all of the co-implementers. We had one meeting with the draft CIP, so we'll be meeting with the staff prior to bringing this plan to adoption. So, and then that would be the next evolution.
To Commissioner Treese's point,
Yeah.
I think like what the communication plan is should be part of your actual
Thank you.
presentation.
Okay. That's good clarification.
Thank you, Commissioner Snyder.
Then for clarification on November, I like the topics. Could we also get a 5-year forecast? And then from earlier today, as listed under November 18th, the annual housing forum is no longer November 21, it's October 30th. Those were the only things I noticed. Board members, were there any other questions or comment notices.
One other update, Rick reminded me that on first the September 9th and September 16th, board meetings, he will be out of the office. So I will update it and list that as well.
Was there anything else on our work session agenda for today's roundtable? I can't seem to place my, oh, here's my agenda. I think we got it. Board members, do you have anything else? Job well done. Thank you. Anything else for today's roundtable in entirety? No, seeing none, we're adjourned. Thank you.